So for everyone who doesn't know me, my name is Dewnya Bazzi. I'm one of the founders of At Law Group. We focus my practice area on personal injury. It's all I've done for about a decade. And seeing what has happened throughout the decade that I've practiced law is that everything is ever changing. The law is ever changing. Society is ever changing. And I really focused my energy over the last few years on trying to build an infrastructure in our business that could sustain all of these changes that occur. So that's kind of where my focus has been. So with that, I'll start my presentation. So the first thing that I quickly realized is this concept of shifting your mindset. We talk about all of these changes and how cumbersome they can be, right? We talked about covenant in the previous presentation. When covenant actually happened on my birthday, so I'll literally never forget that decision. It was like frantic panic. We had thousands and thousands of cases that were filed at the time, provider cases that were affected by this. And I quickly realized I had two choices. I could either freak out and lose my mind and probably lose all of these cases, or I can quickly figure out what the solution is. And when we started focusing on our energy on here's a problem, figure out the solution, instead of here's a problem, what are all the things that could go wrong from this problem, and fixate on that, we were able to kind of navigate what was going to happen. So when you talk about what's currently happening right now, right? We not only have all of the law changes, we had a pandemic. We're now struggling with inflation, which I don't think is going to get better anytime soon. So you have a combination of three really drastic events that are happening in our life as either personal injury attorneys or as medical providers or even society in general. And how do we navigate through those processes to be able to sustain our businesses? One thing that we could do is we could totally ignore it, right? We can say, nothing's happening around me. Everything is peachy keen. Everything is fine, and go, straight line and continue to do things the way we have been doing them. But with that, you notice that our clients are lacking care, providers are closing their doors, our margins are sliced in half, if not more than that, with our businesses. So how long can we sustain that? Our employees are getting burnt out. So we have all of these things that are happening. For me, at the time, pre-pandemic, we'll talk about it, my infrastructure in my business was crumbling. And what I mean by that is you had all this volume and we weren't able to keep up with it. But I learned that if we shift our mindset, everything on the outside will change along with our own mindset. Now you ask, okay, Dewnya, that's all great, but practically, where do I start? I have a positive mindset. I wanna shift my business model. I want my infrastructure to be better. I want my margins to skyrocket. I wanna thrive in this ever-changing world, but great, how do I start? Well, for me, it was really simple, right? You look at, there's three ways to grow your business. And really, there's only three ways to grow a business in general. And we as law firm owners, our medical provider owners, we at our core have a business. And I think sometimes we forget that. We're so entrenched in the practice of law or treating our patients, which is who we are, that we forget that we also have a business to sustain. So the three ways to grow a business are you either increase the transaction size. So either you're able to increase your price. For us, we really can't do that. We can't charge more than a third under the ethical rules. For medical providers now, based on the changes, you can't just go ahead and increase your price. Your reimbursement rate is going to be the same. You can increase the number of customers, which means you have to generate more business, or you can increase your profit margin. And that's where we're gonna focus on today. If you really take a step back and you think about our daily life is made up of countless little tasks, right? Email, phone call, Zoom hearing, pleading I have to draft deadline, treating a client, or visiting with a client, whatever it may be. There's countless little tiny tasks that compose our daily life. I don't know if anybody in the audience can tell me that they focus solely on what they love to do every single day. And if you can, you're way ahead of the rest of us. So there are 3 ways to handle every single little task that you have. You either eliminate the task completely, you automate the task, or you delegate the task. Eliminating a task is you're doing something that doesn't have to be done anyways, right? And believe it or not, there's probably a ton of things that you can just eliminate or consolidate, but you have to be able to find which tasks you can eliminate. Then you can automate tasks or you can delegate it. This presentation is going to be focused on the delegation portion. So I don't know how many of you feel the same way. And if you do, you can go ahead and raise your hand, type in the chat, yes, this is my life. But this was not only my life, it was my staff's life. It was all the attorneys in my office's life. We're struggling to keep up, right? We thankfully had cases coming in and, we're constantly trying to hire more people to keep up with the volume, because instantaneously I'm like, more cases, dockets need to be split. We need more people. We need more attorneys. We need more staff. We need more data entry clerks. We just need people to do the work, right? And what I found was it's not, first of all, it's not easy to source employees, especially now. I think when I started working on this, it was easier to hire than it is currently, because I'm currently looking for attorneys, and it's a struggle. I found that my attorneys are falling behind on deadlines. And when my attorneys fall behind on deadlines, obviously that's huge red flags, right? You have malpractice all over the place, and you can't fall behind on deadlines. So I had to get them to focus on their deadlines first and be able to eliminate all of those other tasks that were taking up their day. Another thing that I realized was, they were just getting burnt out. From my mail clerk to, the most senior attorneys in my office. The burnout was real, and it was like this ongoing cycle of rinse and repeat. And I'm the type that I'm completely open door policy, right? So come and tell me what's going on. Tell me if you're burnt out. Tell me if you need help. And they're telling me I need help. And I'm trying to find the help for them, but the help couldn't come quickly enough. Even if we were able to source staff members to come in, you have, 2-week notice that they have to give to their employer, 2 weeks till they come in, then another probably 2 weeks till they even understand our systems and whatnot. So now you're a month in with a very high volume practice, and it's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, I had my turnover at that time was crazy. And honestly, looking back, I don't really blame them. It was a lot to deal with. It was this rinse and repeat cycle. So how do we stop that from happening? I just want you to close your eyes for 1 second and think about if you were able to literally go to sleep with your task list of 10, 20, 30, 100 items on your task list. And when you woke up, it's magically done. Like every single task on your task list was magically completed. How would that change your life? How would that change your employee's life? How would that change your business as a whole? Would you be able to now take a file or a case that's worth $10,000 on its face and be able to maximize the profits on that case, because you're able to spend more time with the client, talk to the client, walk them through what they needed to do. Well, there's a way. There is a way. I have a few secrets, but the biggest secret is the use of virtual assistants. And I wonder, is anybody using virtual assistants currently? If you are, if you just put it in the chat, I'd love to know if anybody is using virtual assistants. But anyways, so I heard about this concept of virtual assistants about 2 years ago. I was literally on vacation. This is a real life picture of my kids looking at me while I'm talking to one of my friends who was also in the same place. So we met up for vacation. I'm sitting poolside. Her daughter's sitting with my boys. I'm on my laptop. She's like, what's going on? She's a real estate agent, and she just had started her own real estate firm. So I told her, to be honest, I can't, there's no way I can plug out. Like, there's absolutely no way. Like, I'm constantly working. My staff is burnt out. Like, they can't get anything done. And she brought up this concept of virtual assistants. And she said, you know, I hired a VA about a month or so ago, and it changed my life. And I said, well, you know, at this point, I'm like, just tell me more. Let me hear about it. I don't know that this is going to work for me, but tell me more. And she told me, she said, you know, in real estate, we have a ton of documents that are pretty much the same. There's just certain things that need to be, you know, they're template based. So they do all my templates. They follow up with my clients. They do 1, 2, 3, 4. And she started like spitting off this laundry list. And for me at that point, it was a little bit hard to believe. So I came back home from vacation that really wasn't vacation, and I'm sure a lot of you understand that as well. And I said, you know, I continued kind of doing things the same way. And I said, stop, Dewnya, like you have to, again, shift your mindset, find the solution. And I said, let me just try to source one VA. This was 2 years ago now. And so I went online, I hired the VA, I onboarded the VA. I trained them, and the training was simple. It was on one task that was bogging me down at that time. And then I delegated the task, and I'm like, let me see what happens. And by the way, this entire 5-step framework happened within a day. So I didn't need no 2-week notice, no 2 weeks till they got acclimated. It was hire the VA. You have a laundry list of the same task that needs to be delegated, walk them through it, and then delegate it and see what happens. And during that process, I went to sleep and I said, this isn't going to work am I crazy? Like, this is a law firm. This isn't like a real estate company. You know, did I really train them properly? I didn't really go through too much with them. I just went through that one document, and, you know, there's this huge time difference. Like, I'm about to go to sleep and they're about to work. And, do they have the proper skill set? Like, all of these things that I struggled with internally, were happening. Okay. And I woke up and the list was done. Like, it was done. I think it was a series of maybe my first task that I delegated, I think, was a provider complaints, right? So I think there were like 100 provider complaints that needed to be drafted and gone out, and they were completely done. So the person who typically drafts my provider complaints came in the next morning. I said, review these, make sure they're right, print them out, let's get them out. And it worked. And then I was like, man, the next night I hired another one. The next night I hired another one. And by the end of the week, I had like 12 virtual assistants on my team. That was my first batch, because I said, I have all of these tasks that need to be completed. Can I delegate these out? And the answer is simply yes. I don't care what your internal mind is telling you, what your heart is telling you right now. The answer is yes. Okay. Then I kind of, I went through this other phase where I started trying to give my staff VAs. I said, I want you to love your job again. That was my main thing. If you love your job, the clients are going to feel it. You're going to do the best possible job you can. I'm a firm believer in that. Like if you have passion around what you're doing, then just the value of your work is going to skyrocket. So I tried to delegate a virtual assistant to pretty much all of my assistants, my paralegals, my attorneys. Like here's VAs, use them. Every tedious task that you want to pull your hair out because you have to enter this thing into the system or, follow up with 1, 2, 3, all of these things, delegate them to the virtual assistants. And what I found was a significant pushback. When I start to think, why are they having that significant pushback? It's two things. One, it's the mindset. There's no way I can train them properly. There's no way they're going to have the skill set, whatever their own limiting beliefs were. But then I found that they had this limiting belief on, oh my God, is she delegating out my job, right? This huge concept of job security. And what I had to get them to understand was, your job is secure. I just want you to actually do your job, because you're not actually doing your job. You're not lawyering 100% of the time, right? You are following up on all these emails that have nothing to do with your cases. So instead somebody can manage that, or you're, drafting these letters where if you quickly dictate it or say what you want in the letter, they can quickly be done. Or, there's, again, countless tasks that I can talk about. You're not lawyering, or you're not being a true paralegal, right? You're not keeping up with the files, auditing them, communicating with the clients, increasing that value proposition with your clients or with each case, because we have all of these tasks that are taking up your time and your resources. And then what I found was, which I never thought that this was going to be true, but the accountability it was so evident, right? It became so evident that the accountability could hold within that team, and who was accountable and whatnot, because now you have the resources to eliminate these tasks. And if you're not going to take on the resources to eliminate the task, now the accountability is solely on you, and you physically cannot do what I need you to do on these files. You might be saying, okay, Dewnya, that's great, but how do we interact with the virtual assistants, right? Simple. How are we on Zoom hearings every day? How are we interacting right now? It's literally the same thing. Please don't let that limit you from being able to increase your margins, get things done that need to be done. Do not allow that to limit you. It's simply the same way. They speak English. They have, all of these limiting beliefs that you have. Please just throw them out the window. We don't got time for it. This is a huge point, right? The cost savings that you get by hiring virtual assistants. So I believe that at the time of this chart, we had about 48 virtual assistants at the time. We have about 60 now, being 2 years later. And I'm projected to have about 100 by, mid-year or so. So you can see I pay, 46 virtual assistants. Payroll is $11,900. If I was going to have 46 employees at $15 an hour, I would have paid $51,600 per payroll. So you can see the drastic difference here. It's a 77% savings. Now, these numbers can fluctuate depending on what you hire the virtual assistants in at and whatnot, but this is my live chart from the way that I do it and the way I've been sourcing them, this is the difference. Even if it was a 50% savings or a 60% savings, that's massive, right? So massive. And quite frankly, there would have been no way that my firm could have sustained hiring 46 new employees at $51,000 each payroll. Like there's no way I could have sustained doing it. So what does that tell you? That tells you that those countless tasks would have been left undone. Like instantaneously within that first week where I hired 12, I had like this vision or this concept where it's like, oh my God, my ceiling was here. And now my ceiling became the sky. Like there is nothing that we can't accomplish anymore. You know, we're auditing our dockets every day. We're creating content for social media, which we were never doing. You know, we're tracking information internally that just takes time to track. It's just data entry to track, you know, which adjusters are doing what, which insurance companies are paying what, all of this information that, you know, you never really have the time to track, but in your mind, you're like, oh my God, if I just knew. They use it against us all the time. The insurance companies use it against us all the time. Oh, well, you typically settle these MRI cases at $2,500 a scan. So why are you asking me for $3,800, right? They do this all the time to us. Instead, let's be able to flip the script on them and say, well, you're paying an average of $3,500 per scan with my firm. So why are you lowballing me now? Right? So all of these things have just made our business go from here to here. One of the things I'm probably most proud of is that 98% of the VAs I have sourced past the probationary period. So I always have a probationary period to see, you know, if their communication skills, how they're doing, just like I do with my employees here when I hire them in. Everyone sits on a 90-day probationary period just to see if we're all a good fit for each other. So far, we have a 98% rating of keeping those VAs on. I'm a firm believer in hiring 2 at a time. Just if one doesn't pan out, you have another one as backup, but it's so easy to source them that, like I said, things, something that would typically take, you know, an interview, another interview, a 2-week notice, and then you get the employee will take not even a day. So we talked about this already. We're about 60 now and on pace to have about 100 by mid-year. So my overarching take on virtual assistants was, you know, I was so hesitant at first, you know, but the hesitation just, it couldn't be there because I was literally in a crisis. So if you are in a crisis right now, or if you're not in a crisis, it's even better, because if you just take this step, it's going to change your life. It's going to literally change your life. You have all of that time back that you're spent on those countless tasks that don't need to be you. And if you have that time back, utilize that time however you see fit, right? So for me, I'm like a workhorse. I love working, but I don't feel like it's working. It's my passion. It's what, you know, what drives me. So I'm able to spend time doing the things that I love for my business, growing my business. I also get to spend way more time with my kids than I ever used to get to spend prior to that, because all of those countless tasks went away. They were just done. And it was literally the greatest decision of my life. So I'm so thankful that I took that leap forward, and I hope that you guys do the same as well. And the coolest thing about it is, you know, the teammates that have actually integrated the virtual assistants in their practice, whether it be my staff members, my legal assistants, my attorneys, it's making them love their job again. It's making that concept of burnout not exist. Because they're coming to work, they're spending their energy on the things they love to spend their energy on. And as we incorporate more virtual assistants, my goal and my hope is that each single individual within your organization and within my organization is going to love what they do again. And that will in and of itself increase the value of every case. So I'll ask, want to scale your business and free up your time? I mean, if you say no to this, I don't know what to tell you, because it's a game changer. It's a game changer. So if you have any questions or concerns on, virtual assistants, here's my contact information. You guys can go ahead and, look me up, email me, call me anytime. I will be taking questions on this at the end of all the presentations at around 3 o'clock. So you guys can save your questions for then. Thank you for your time.